What's up, guys? This is a stimulus check update and a stimulus package update as of the morning of Wednesday, July 22nd, but it's also a deep dive to help you understand just what the heck Congress is arguing about. We'll lay out exactly what each side is proposing, how likely they are to agree, and just what's going on with the infighting between the Republicans and the president. My name is Lily, and this channel covers all things personal finance and investing, so have a look around when you finish this video, and if you appreciate all of the research that went into this, please turn the like button blue. Alright, so here's what we know so far. Congress went back to work on Monday, July 21st, and that's when top Republican leaders like Secretary of the Treasury Steven Mnuchin and Senate Majority Leader Mitch McConnell met with the president. Yesterday, or Tuesday, those same top Republican leaders met with Democrat leaders like House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer. Although there are Democrats and Republicans in both the Senate and the House, the Senate is controlled by the Republicans and the Democrats control the House. These are the two entities that we need to agree on a bill so that it can be sent to the president's desk to be signed into law. And we need that agreement to happen quickly.
Well, it's a long, long journey to the capital city. It's a long, long wait while I'm sitting in committee. But I know I'll be a law someday. At least I hope and pray that I will. But today I am still just a bill.
Like I said, Congress just got back to work on July 21st, and they have until July 31st when not only do the benefits from the CARES Act expire, but the House of Representatives is set to go on yet another recess. And while Democratic Leader of the House Nancy Pelosi has said that the House will not go on recess if a bill isn't signed, we still have to contend with the fact that the Senate is set to go on their recess the week following on August 7th. While the Senate's leader Mitch McConnell has said that he's confident an agreement will be made by then, he has also said that the Senate will not delay their recess and work past August 7th. So what happens if an agreement is not reached in the next 13 business days? Another recess. This time, it'll be a month-long break and Congress won't be back in session until September 7th, where they'll go until September 25th. And if something isn't passed by then, they'll go back one last time from September 30th until October 9th. And after that, all Congress members will go home back to their districts to campaign to be re-elected in November. Now, I personally don't think that a bill is going to take that long to figure out because I don't think there's a single congressperson who wants to go back to their constituents, ask to be re-elected when they couldn't even come up with a stimulus package. So, fingers crossed that something will be passed by August 7th and we won't have to wait through a month-long recess or longer. So what exactly is it that needs to be agreed upon? Back on May 15th, the Democratic House of Representatives passed what they called the HEROES Act, and this was a $3 trillion bill that included another $1,200 stimulus check, extended $600 a week unemployment benefits, hazard pay for essential workers, and other things that we're going to get into in a moment. The Republican Senate effectively ignored this bill through the last recess, and now they're working on their own $1 trillion bill. So right away, you can see that there's a very large gap in the amount of money that each side wants to spend. But that's not where the issues stop. The Senate is also running into some major disagreements with the White House, and Republican congressmen have started speaking out about this a little bit more. So let's break it down. We'll start with what everyone actually agrees on because that list is much shorter. The President, the Senate, and the House of Representatives all want another round of direct stimulus checks, so yay for a small win. But that's about where the agreements end. The Democrats have proposed that everyone get another $1,200 stimulus check, and unlike last time, this would also include $1,200 per college student and minor dependent, whereas the last round of stimulus checks only included $500 for minor dependents and $0 for college students. The Senate seems to be on board with another $1,200 stimulus check, but they haven't talked about whether or not college students will be included in this round, and they also want to lower the soft income cap from $75,000 to $40,000. So this means that if you make less than $40,000 a year, you would get the full $1,200 stimulus check, and it would decrease from there until someone who makes above $75,000 would get nothing. Remember, the last stimulus check had a soft income cap where everyone who made under $75,000 got $1,200, and then it went up from there until people who made more than $99,000 got $0. For couples, these numbers would be doubled for household income, and it has been noted that lowering the income level to qualify for a stimulus check would just cause a lot of logistical issues and slow down the process, so it would actually be easier to just keep the qualifications the same and include people that were excluded last time, like college students, American citizens who are married to someone who doesn't have a social security number, and immigrants who don't have a social security number but pay taxes through their tax ID number. Finally, the president has said that he wants a larger second stimulus check, even larger than the Democrats are vouching for, but he hasn't said exactly how much. It's also worth note that just a few days ago, a group of 150 American economists put out a letter where they all agreed that the U.S. should be giving $2,000 a month recurring checks through the end of the pandemic. They drew examples to other countries around the world who are giving much larger and much more frequent direct payments like Canada and Spain. Next up, schools. With schools set to be back in session soon, it's really unclear what's going to happen. Some parents don't want to send their kids in, some teachers don't want to go in themselves, and with a lot of states reclosing after the recent spike in cases, it's unclear if state leaders are actually going to open their schools anyway. The president has been pretty vocal that he wants schools, K-12 and universities, reopened come fall, and he wants federal funding given to schools to be tied to them needing to reopen. This is one of the first large fissures that we see between the White House and the Republican-led Senate. Senate Majority Whip John Thune, who's a South Dakota Republican, said, "I don't think that's a particularly good idea. I think it's better to let the school districts and local officials decide what's best. I just don't think you can come up with a national federal policy that's one size fits all. The circumstances are very different." And he said this on Monday, so just 2 days ago. The Senate's bill proposes that states get to decide when their schools open based on case numbers and testing availability, and that they'll get $70 billion in funds to help them make those reopenings safer. The House agrees that schools should get to decide, but they proposed $430 billion to help schools reopen, and they cited that it could be used for things like classroom cleanings and extra buses so that students can social distance on the way to and from school. And the disagreements just keep rolling in. Next up, a payroll tax cut. Right now, 15.3% of workers' wages gets taken out of their checks and set aside for things like Social Security and Medicare and retirement. A full payroll tax cut would mean that workers' checks would increase by 15.3%. So for someone who makes $5,000 a month, they would be getting about an extra $750 in their paycheck. But economists warn that this is not extra money. That money is being set aside to be used for people in their retirement, for Social Security and Medicare, and we already know that those programs are underfunded. So a payroll tax cut could have extreme ramifications in the future. It's also super important to note that this payroll tax cut only benefits people who are still working and getting a check. It does absolutely nothing for the more than 20 million people who are unemployed. So how do our three decision makers feel? The president has made it very, very clear that he wants a full payroll tax cut, even going as far as to say that he would not sign a bill that didn't include one. So let's pause here and imagine this. We somehow miraculously get the Senate and the House of Representatives to agree on a bill, take it to the president's desk, and he refuses to sign it. That means that the bill then has to go back to the Senate and the House and get a 2/3 approval vote to basically veto the president's veto. Obviously, we all really need to hope that that doesn't happen because this thing isn't moving quickly as it is, and any delay would only push back stimulus benefits by weeks and maybe even months. Some Republicans don't even want the payroll tax cut at all. Senator Grassley, who's a Republican chairman of the Senate Finance Committee, said that direct payments would be much more useful than just temporarily reducing the amount of taxes that are taken out of checks. In a statement to CNN, he said, "I think when a person has a check in his hand, I think that's going to do more economic good than if we dribble out $30 every paycheck." But given that the president is threatening a veto, some other Republicans have said it's likely the bill will include at least a partial payroll tax cut, so not the full 15%, but something just so that the president agrees to sign it. And how do the Democrats feel? Probably no surprise here, but they don't want a payroll tax cut at all. Next up, unemployment. The week of July 25th is the last week that the extra $600 federal unemployment boost will be handed out. But there are some states that are extending the $600 payments by 13 weeks, so make sure you subscribe and turn on notifications because I'm going to be doing a deep dive on what states are doing that and how you can get your hands on the extra $600 if you are unemployed. Regardless, it's looking like the $600 will not last on the federal level. Both the president and Senate leaders have said that the unemployment benefits are too much of an incentive for people not to return to work, and they want people to go back to their jobs. So it's said that their proposal is going to reduce the payments to around $200 to $400, whereas the Democrats are proposing that the $600 is extended through January 2021. And there's still other things that need to be agreed upon. The national moratorium on foreclosures and evictions is expiring at the end of the month. And while we're not sure where the Senate as a whole stands on this, there are some Republican state leaders like Massachusetts Governor Charlie Baker who has extended their moratorium for 2 more months. On the other hand, the Democrats' bill includes $175 billion to help people with rent payments and mortgage payments and an extension of the moratorium until March 2021. I'm also doing another deep dive on options that tenants and homeowners can take if they can't pay their rent or mortgage, so subscribe and look out for that one as well. Another big disagreement is that the Senate has not talked publicly publicly about including hazard pay for essential workers, where the Democrats have advocated that they're in favor of giving essential workers increased hazard pay at this time. We've also got to deal with the White House's relationship with the Center for Disease Control. Originally, it was reported that the president was working to block the CDC from getting any additional funding for test kits or contact tracing. But as of yesterday's meeting with Senate leaders, it was reported that he's starting to warm up to the Senate's plan of giving $25 billion to the CDC. The Democrat bill calls for $75 billion. And we've also got the issue of liability. We're not exactly sure where the president stands on this one, but it's pretty easy to assume that he agrees with the Senate, who want 5 years of liability protection for businesses and schools that reopen. This would mean that if you went to a business or a school and got sick, you would not be able to sue them for exposing you to the virus. On the other hand, the Democrats believe that the protections that were already included in the CARES Act are enough, and anything further would just encourage them to kind of ignore the safety guidelines. So obviously, there's a lot to be agreed upon in a short amount of time. Comment below and let me know what your predictions are for what's going to happen. And if you want to increase your knowledge about personal finance or investing, check out the other videos on my channel, especially this one where I teach you how to put $0 down on a house and decrease your living expenses through house hacking. I'll keep you updated as best I can as more news comes out. Thank you so much for watching, and don't forget to turn the like button blue before you go.